All right, so we here, we are here. Get my mic down. We back at it again. Back at it again. Crazy part, man. YouTube be going crazy with it, but we're gonna keep it moving though. Shout out to everybody coming in the building. So if you've seen the video, you already know we're gonna be talking about budget. You already know we're gonna be talking about getting to the money and how to keep the money. So shout out to a couple of guys. We have a little set up where we talk about some things over the internet and stake claim to things and just overall looking at the budget aspect of people in their lives and finance, just overall life expected things that you have to run across. And one of the things that we were talking about in this video, and it showed how this young lady made all this money but couldn't sustain, you know, going in the negative. Um, and I say pretty much for everybody to watch the link in the video, in the description I had. There was a lady, she was a traveling nurse, and I said she made about 142, but she actually made 182. And the crazy part about that is, like, you're making this much money, but overall, you can't sustain, like, what's going on. Like, I mean, having an understanding, uh, they always have that quote, more money, more problems. And that seems to be the case with most people. Literally, the more money you make, the more problems, more issues you face in life. They say money brings jealousy and envy, but particularly money brings, you know, grace, hope, and purpose to those who know how to use the money well and know how to deal with things. And shout out to Gold Professor with this. If you use the 9 laws of self-govern, um, this lady would have never been in this situation. And like I said, the link is in the description. You can look at it now, or you can go back and look at it. It's up to you. But I'm gonna be talking about it to kind of catch you up with speed. So the lady, she's a traveling nurse. Shout out Dr. Dunbar in the building. And her issue is money. You know, I was talking about this the other day. I said people have a relationship um, with their significant other, have a relationship with their jobs that they can get the job done efficiently or possibly get fired. Why not have a relationship with your money? People are not setting boundaries with their money. You know, they're not they don't have any goals, long-term goals, short-term goals, you know, ready to make the money and spend it out. In a couple of my other previous videos, I talked about, paying yourself first and for people to adapt that, just spending some money on you. Not saying to go out and splurge and, you can save up. You can pay yourself 20 bucks a week, pay yourself $300 a week. But the thing of it is, you got to be able to pay your bills and everything as well. And there are a lot of budgeting videos I do watch. Wanda, Budget and Beyond. I always talk about her channel because I'm always over there visiting her channel. Um, Sam Budgeting, I watch her channel. There's a lot of good budgeting channels I watch. And overall, the same concept always remains that when it comes down to it, a lot of times with the budgeting aspect of things, you got to know what you're doing. And it's crazy that a lot of people, far as the youth, we haven't sat down with our parents, talked about a budget. All we know is pay your bills, make sure you don't go into debt. And one of my friends' favorite is don't get a credit card. Credit cards are the killers. But, like I said, among years of him learning that from his mom and then being able to sit down with his wife, and his wife is financially stable. She has 401k, she has life insurance, she has everything because it was a thing that her parents taught her to that degree. And shout out to everybody coming in the building, Clayton in the building. But the thing of it is, when it came down to her learning finance and learning responsibility, she wasn't afraid to get a credit card compared to her husband. Her husband had no real financial literacy, so he didn't get a credit card all the way up into his 30s, in which she was getting credit cards straight out of high school, managing them. And by the time he met her, he would always, talk about how his wife is so good with finance. Every time she go to get a car, her interest rate is always in the single digits. Um, she go and get loans just to be getting them, just so she can, pay herself back out of her either life insurance, or she'll just go get a small loan just to boost her credit up, and knowing that she'll take the loan and pay about 90% of it off, and screen the little 10% alone just for history and everything. She know these things, and she's applying them and showing them to him, and he's actually going along saying, man, this is something I could do. Like, I wasn't taught this. And that's the biggest thing for a lot of us. We're not taught the budgeting of finance. That's why we lose the aspect, we lose the game when it comes to money. Most people tend to lose in relationships, and you also lose in the aspect of finances as well, because these are taught behavior. These are things that you learn over time that can easily be prevented if you take the necessary arrangements to actually, you know, deal with it. And the biggest issue with a lot of people adapting to, changes with finance, you get a new job, you make more money. Most of the time, the bills don't change until you make them change. When it comes down to it, the bills, if you have a light bill and you work at McDonald's, that light bill is going to be the same. You're going to be budgeting to make sure those lights get cut off so you won't have to pay more on your bill. But you tend to kind of leave those lights on a little more, sleep with the lights on from working from that McDonald's job. Let's say getting a warehouse job, or something that's pays a little more. You tend to do a little different. You don't still keep with that same budget. And then you turn around when it comes to you getting a nicer job where you're almost getting on salary. You just leave the lights on all day, all night. Every day, every morning I get up, I cut my porch light off every morning. I'm biased. What's going on? Uh, Queen is in the building, and the thing of it is, I always cut my porch light off in the morning. I cut it on pretty much close to late as possible. Subtle things like that. It's not much, but me watching my light bill is a big indication that I'm not gonna be balling out, even though I've always made good money. It's a force of habit now. Same thing with finance. I attended my wife the other night wanted to go out to eat at Sonny's barbecue. I'm like, nah, let's make tacos tonight. Want to grab the stuff from the grocery store. We cooked it at home, and that's the thing. A lot of people, they do feel like they want to live the fabulous life. I constantly have to remind my wife, why not just cook at home sometime? I know, get it every once in a while. You want to go out to eat, change up. Maybe you get tired of cooking. There's some nights, like I say, I cook for my wife. Well, let me not say that to around some guys. They get offended about that. But I cook at home too as well. Sometimes my wife need a break. That's the thing. With some guys, you need a break. You don't have that person to give you the break. But understanding, you know, sometimes as men, your job is never done. But the thing of it is keeping that budget. When you start making more money, that doesn't mean add more bills. I seen this little small short on YouTube where the woman started off okay, regular intern position, end up getting hired on full time, and she went and got her a cash car. Went and got her apartment. Couple years in, she became, a supervisor. She went from being a supervisor to looking at a nice house to buying her a more, luxury grade like Lexus and Infinity from the car she had when she paid cash and she had a car note. Then became the manager, wanted a bigger house, didn't worry about a family because she was climbing the corporate ladder, and things of that nature. And when she became CEO of the company, or let's say to the extent, upper echelon manager or something or something to that degree, she was happy. She went and got a mansion. And when it came for her retirement, you know, she only had her 401k, which she didn't put much in. And she was like, oh my goodness, I'll still have to work. And the same employee that moved up with her ended up getting to a partnership position as well. Was like, man, I'm about to get ready to retire in like 2 more years. And the lady was like, well, I got to keep working. I just did my calculations. I don't have enough money for retirement. It's like, well, how did you, make it this way? He's like, well, once I got a raise, I kind of still kept living the same bills. I took money that I had and put it in the 401k, put some things away for retirement. I also got to the point where I literally stayed in the same house. Ever since I've been in this company, I only bought two houses. One house, it was my starter house, and the second house, I've been in there for almost 20 years. And she was astounded and amazed, like, oh, wow, just going along with it. But the thing about it is, just because your pay moves up, that means your lifestyle doesn't have to move up. And in this video, this lady was talking about how, people will walk around with $1,500 outfits on. That comes with ladies when you have the purse, the shoes, the dress, the jewelry alone, accessories with it or something. $1,500 walking down the street. You know, even with guys, wearing um $5,000 watches, um $3,000 shoes. Then you might have a $200 pair of pants, $300 shirt. Then you're gonna have a necklace and stuff accessorizing just like the woman. Having all this money being spent on things like that. Like, I mean, it's good and dandy, but you got to look at this. Far as retirement, you're wearing your retirement. You know, and that's what she was explaining into the video, that a lot of people live above their means. A lot of people. The lady in the video, she talks about how she made $182,000 last year, and within 6 months, she was having a negative in her bank account. And it was just crazy how a lot of people actually do live like that, making $182,000, but within 6 months, you have negative 200 some dollars in your account. You didn't save no money. You don't have nothing like for a rainy day, let alone people put money in a 401k and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of people literally do that late in life. They figure things out. When I was young, I first got one of my jobs I was working at when I was 17 years old. Was it 17 or 16? It was 15 when I first got that job. So yeah, it was 16. I first got this real good job at 16 years old. Ended up making a career out of that job. And the crazy part was I didn't sign up to my 401k until I was, I think, 21. All the way to time they would talk to me about 401k and doing things, but I was like, man, I don't know anything about. Nobody never told me about it. I say my grandma, she didn't know anything about it. My aunt knew about it, but I didn't think to reach out to her because if my grandma didn't know, I just assumed she didn't know. Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people, they have the knowledge to a degree. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. What's that? The kids call it YOLO, and I'm gonna go on and drop the link for a minute because I probably don't be up here too much long, but I'm gonna drop the link as well. But the NOLO aspect of people saying, man, you only live once. And that is true. But the thing is, I always say this on my channel, you're gonna get old. And when you get old, how are you gonna deal with yourself? How are you gonna protect yourself? You know, and a lot of people fail to realize that getting old comes with what? A cost. You know, I heard this pastor say, we spend all our youth trying to chase money. And when we become older, we spend all our money. Well, he said we spend all our youth and our health chasing money. And then when we get older, we take all our money and try to get our health back. And that's the thing, you know, the burden of you working hard in your younger years pays off, you know. And I have a short, I haven't even dropped it yet, but it was kind of crazy because I seen this video where this guy was saying in your 20s, you know, you want to party hard, have fun. Your 30s, settle down and start to relax. When you get to your 40s, you want to be more equipped, budgeting and planning for the future. And the crazy part about that is, no, you shouldn't. When you literally in your younger years, and I talked about that in the short that I made. I just haven't didn't. I might just go ahead and drop it without editing and stuff like that. But the crazy part was, like I said, I've always worked hard, either had one or two jobs. At one point, I had three jobs. I was working as a promotion manager. I hired out my friends, so I know they could do the job for me, and I didn't have to worry too much about it. Did have to worry a little, but not too much. Then going into the aspect of me working for a moving company and doing my own contracting stuff for moving on the side. So if I was local, I would go do a couple of jobs on the side, my contracting. Then I would catch up at night with the guys and make sure they're doing the promotion right. And then I'll give me a couple of hours in. Everybody remember, I don't know to an extent, maybe me, but when I was young, I would run on at least 3 to 4 hours of sleep. And that was the crazy part of that. Running on those 3, 4 hours of sleep, it was gold to me. Like nowadays, I have to get a little more rest, but running on those 3 or 4 hours of sleep, that was the best time. That was the most money I ever made. What's going on, Lonzo?
What's going on, bro? How you?
All right.
All right. I was just coming up to speak on, a little bit. I just saw you was live. So I ain't quite know what you was talking about. I've been listening for maybe the last 2 minutes.
Let me get you up to speed. The video that the lady that was a traveling nurse was talking about, I guess her friend or so, the lady ended up,
Oh, the
making
video that
the
Dr.
video.
Dunbar sent.
Yeah,
I actually didn't get a chance to watch it. I've actually been fairly busy these past month and a half.
yeah. But the rundown is pretty much like this. She a lady she knows make $182,000, let's say last year, and 6 months later, in the middle of this year, she only had, I mean, she had a negative 230 some dollars in her account after making 182,000 last year.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just the whole thing with keeping up with the Joneses. A lot of people, the biggest issue, and she talked about that, is not having a budget. A lot of
Yeah,
people just don't have a budget.
yeah. This is true, Dr. Dunbar. How are you?
Hey, hey, gentlemen. Can I grab the mic right quick? I'm gonna be short because I'm starting my workday here.
Yes.
I was just gonna say that when you look at the title of that video, at first you might think it's something unique to nurses, but when she started going over all of her 11 points, I said, okay, I know what she's talking about. I know who she's talking about, and I'll just say that you can imagine the conundrum if you're a single man and you're kind of handling your money right and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to meet another professional, and she's taking what she earns and she's living like what's described in the video. Then you got to think about, okay, wow, how are we going to combine our stuff? you know she wants to live like like the people on social media, and that's a real thing. That's a real thing. I because I'm a blogger and I do YouTube. I hang out on Twitter. I hang out on Instagram. I hang out on different platforms, and you see ladies with so and so and so and so RN, so and so and so and so RN. They're taking bathing suit shots. They're taking they're thirst trapping. You see all kinds of things. So what you find is that having a professional title, it can mean something different across gender lines. It can mean something different across. I'll throw in social class, but I just wanted to say what stood out to me about that was that I think the assumption is that in professional circles, that's the one Ray Alexander likes, and also shout out to my father. My father is pretty big on degree levels. Just because you have the same degree does not mean that your finances line up. Doesn't mean that you have the same priorities. Doesn't mean that your head is in the same place. So there's a layer there that a lot of people don't see, who are not privy to this stuff. And so yeah, so you might be handling your money correctly, you might be handling your money safely, but yeah, there's a prevalence of the other side not doing that, and that adds a layer of complexity to things. It's almost like in colleges, I think the assumption in our communities is that when you go to college and you get a white collar degree, I think the assumption is that, oh, I got my college degree, I'm educated, I got a job, so I can live fabulous, I can do whatever I want, I can travel, I can go to Dubai, I can get a house, I can fill the house with all these luxury goods, I can get a BMW, I can get a Mercedes. I think the assumption is that's what a college degree grants you, and you don't have to wait until you're in a safe place financially. As soon as you get your college degree, as soon as you get your nursing job or whatever, you can go out and start living fabulously. So I kind of think at some of these schools, especially HBCUs, they need to have some sort of curriculum saying, look, this is what it is. When you finish, when you start out, you're not going to be making a lot of money. You're probably going to have a student loan. These are the things you're going to need to do in the short term. And then maybe you could think about getting your luxuries later. But folks like to put the cart before the horse. I know some of the neighborhoods folks come from. I know the images that our people are indoctrinated with in pop culture and on social media. So I get it, but there almost needs to be some sort of course for these people at these schools before they go out into the real world.
Well, there was economics and home economics. Prime example, when I went to college at the University of New Haven, I went to school for music and sound recording. But I had taken a macroeconomics course. Ironically enough, now I'm in the world of finance, right? So they do offer those types of courses, but they're generally not those that most want to take. Often they're full of core curriculum, which tends to be quite boring. Especially at college age, you'd rather be like, hey, listen, let me get this easy A and go party and drink with the fellas. But you're very accurate in stating that there should be some form of this curriculum. And so there's also a double standard, or maybe it's a double redundancy. So the school system is expecting these types of life skills to be taught to their children by the parents, while the parents are depending on the school system to teach these sort of life skills to the children, which is technically not their job and it's definitely not their goal. I'll stop there.
Yeah, yeah, Alonzo, that is a bit of a conundrum. And now that you mentioned that, it's confounded by the fact that those people who go to school to become nurses or whatever, in many instances, they are the top achiever in their family, and then even they're expected to take care of people in the family. So it's kind of like it's a real paradox.
Well, the other paradox, especially from our community, is this because people think that because you earn a lot of money, that you know how to manage money. And earning money and keeping money and managing money are all three different things. um, So our community tends to be like, hey, this is, my daughter Renee. She went to nursing school. She makes $100,000 a year. I let her take care of all of my finances because she makes $100,000 a year, so she must know what she's doing with finances. And people don't understand what making $100,000 a year even means. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's why the last time all four of us were on my channel, that's why I asked Felchi about the breakdown of the brackets and the percentages, because that almost needs to be drilled into people's heads as well. What's a 10%er? What's a 5%er? What what is six figures today? How far does that go? Because a lot of people, especially in families, yeah, like you said, they see, okay, well, so and so's got their degree, they're making six figures, they should be able to loan cousin JJ or give cousin JJ that money. They should be able to give their brother that money. I live in Washington D.C. Everything is expensive here, and I've got a mortgage. I'm trying to keep myself above water. Why don't you help out the family? I'll do what I can, but I can't do everything for everybody. And some kids, some people, they do feel obligated to do that. They do feel obligated to bail everybody out and pay bills for other people. So it's a real it's a real mixed bag. It's a real conundrum at times.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think it's but the budget is something that is really simple that you can do. Actually, ironically enough, bringing it back to life insurance, you can actually ask whoever you have your life insurance with to do an annual review. Amongst that review, you should ask for a discovery or fact finding session and ask them to actually do a budget review with you. It's something that can actually be done. They'll go over your assets and your liabilities, what you have in savings, so on and so forth. The reason that it's good to have and be completely transparent. If you've only got $52 in savings, tell them that. They're not there to judge you. The reason that they are uncovering that is because oftentimes things are not real unless they're on paper. And you tend not to remember things unless they're written down or on paper, right? Because it gives you a reference to look back upon. So you can actually get a copy of that budget and say, hey, this month I have $52 in my savings. Next month, I want to strive to have $104 in my savings, right? And then 6 months down the line, you look back at it, and now you can actually change that field from 52 to 6,000, whatever it is, right? Um, And budgeting needs to start being something that we as a community talk about. I'll be real brief with this, but I'll give you a brief story. Years ago, when I was in my late 20s, my next door neighbor, who was in his mid 40s, we used to hang out, drink beer, and talk together because we both worked in finance. He asked me, he was like, "Hey man, do you and your homeboys talk about things like retirement?" I was like, "Man, I'm 27 years old. What you talking about?" And now I'm encroaching 40, and it's so much different. And I understand now what he was talking about. So those types of conversations should happen a little more often. We should just ask young brothers or mention the young brothers, "Hey, I know, Rick Ross said fuck life insurance, but he actually has it." Stuff like that.
That's like the biggest thing, within the community. We don't talk about stuff. When I was talking to my friend one day, and I was telling him about one of my other friends. He's big in finance, but he tends to keep a lot of stuff to himself because he says that a lot of people don't share his thoughts and his visions. Like, even with the family aspect, that's how me and him got more close and started talking because, he's married, has kids, me as well. We tend to do a lot of stuff with each other, mainly because of the kids, but also, we talk about finance and things of that nature, and I've been pounding down on him. I'm like, get your insurance together, do this and do that. He put, I think, his will in his wife's hands, and she still hasn't did anything to actually, get the ball rolling. I'm like, yeah, she's gonna get the hurt when you pass and the stuff is not done, but it's gonna go towards your kids. I'm like, if she's not doing it, you got to do it. You got to pick the ball up and put it in the hoop. As your wife, understanding, I love my wife, but my wife is not doing what she needs to do. I still got to do the job, you know. And I'm like, a lot of your money is gonna go to the state because you not having a trust or something that can, the process of where these things are going. Plus, even with side deals, me and him have business. And I told my wife, I said, well, if I pass, you're going to know that this folder has everything. I talked about this with Alonzo. This folder has everything far as my finance, who I have business with, and I'm talking about, I got 5,000 over here, 10 over there, and we're in business doing a house flip. We're in business doing a small business, and I'm 10% into the business, or I'm 5% into the business. She has to know, like, this is not free money for these guys if something ever happened to me. Even with my crypto, we talked about this with a guy Alonzo knew that when he passed, that phone is locked. All his crypto is locked in there. They won't let you access that password if you're not the owner of that account. I mean, they sorry for your loss that your dad passed, but we can't give you his access code. We don't even know it. Sometimes they have systems that's in measure for that, so you can't or the other person knows to get in these accounts. That money's just locked in there. So, like budgeting about finance, we got to be real smart about it. And that's why I keep trying to promote guys doing their research, ladies understanding, the options that they have, as well as fellas knowing what to do.
Hey, gentlemen, I'm going to drop off. I got some work here to do. One other thing, you guys, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this. There are some, I alluded to this in the chat sheet, but there are some people who have a mindset of, I want to live now. I don't want to wait until I'm, 60 something. I want to live now, which I can see some logic in that. So I guess there's a balance between living now and also making sure you have enough provision in your barn, enough storage and provisions in your barn. And then there are other times I've met people, particularly okay, I'm not singling them out, but it just happens to be older women who I've heard them say, I'm not leaving anything to anybody. I worked hard for this. I'm going to enjoy it myself. And I guess I'm just adding that in to just drive home that there's a huge variation in how people look at money and how what people want to do or what people think they should do when they earn it. Not so you have to pay attention to what people are doing and what their intentions are if you're going to deal closely with them. Not everyone has a I'm going to stack this up and pass it on to someone else type of mindset. Some people just kind of feel like, well, it's here now. I'm here now. I'm going to enjoy it, and they can fend for themselves later on. So, just some food for thought. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Take care, Doc.
Doc.
Yeah, but no, I definitely agree. But go ahead, G.
Look at it the same way too. And it's funny that he said it because I hear a lot of women talk like that. It's not all women, but I do. Actually, my cousin's wife told him that. She said she's gonna spend her money now, and she's not leaving nothing to her kids. If they want some money, they need to go get it themselves. But far as my cousin, he's telling her that he wants to leave some money for the kids to give them a head start. To focus a little more on life. He's not gonna make them rich, but the money that he do give them, he hope that they use it in the best benefit. And his kids are older, so they tend to not come around as much. But at the same time, no dad, but always love mom type deal. And no, they know that the mom talks like this, but more or less, it's like more love is spewed towards the mom compared to the dad's. Like, I'm leaving you this money, and he knows this. Even like I know, but like my aunt always told me, she said, "Love your kids, but when they get older, they're grown. They have to handle life accordingly, and to the degree, there's nothing you could do about it." So I came at that approach with him like, "Hey, handle your life, and that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't change your kids' thoughts. If they're gonna go out here and squander money that you have for them, or neglect that the mom's not really want to leave them something." Because like I say, my great grandma, I got the game from her. Her biggest thing was, don't be a burden to nobody. Look out for your family. Do this and do that. With most other people who raise in different households, they have a different mindset. So that's where it comes down to when you have most people, like in this situation with this woman. She's talking about this lady. I mean, because obviously you can tell with her talking about this, she has a different mindset. So that's how you can come to the assumption of not all. I mean, even with men, I've heard a lot of men, I want to buy
Well,
all
I've
the
heard a lot of
Jordans.
people say that.
Oof, crazy. Go ahead.
Like I'm not leaving nothing to my kids. I've heard a lot of people. I mean, even people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have said that, right? But they mean literally the money that they have expendable to spend. They do put a small amount away and purchase more money through things like life insurance and other assets that will be passed on to the next generation. And then the next generation can do things like liquidate that and have mass amounts of money, but it don't even get taught to our people like that. That's why we don't view it that way, you know. Um, but I'm about to hop off. Um, Salute to you. Thank you for having me on. I'm gonna watch from the clouds.
Yeah, I'm about to end this too, but my biggest aspect was trying to get people focused more on their resources, their money. Knowing that just because you make the money doesn't mean you have to spend it. And more or less, I always talk about Budget and Beyond, her channel. She does her daily walks talking about savings. She does envelope stuffings. She does the envelope challenges. I mean, a lot of times, just start Googling or just even on YouTube, looking up budgeting channels. They have a lot of videos, men and women, talking about budgeting. You know, they have a lot of videos giving you percentages. Dave Ramsey is one of the big guys who focus on retirement and savings and getting out of debt. But there's a lot of, other channels you can look at as well. I don't believe in the whole Dave Ramsey method. Some of his stuff do work. Some of his stuff is outrageous. The thought of him, Lasha spoke on this, how she was following the Dave Ramsey method and she would have never bought her first house, because Dave Ramsey says don't touch your 401k. So some of the stuff works, but you just gotta critique it, pick and choose. That helps you out in the long run. But like I said, I'm about to get ready to hop off of here. Shout out to everybody that came through. Go back and look at the video in the description if you're kind of confused what we're talking about and so forth. But until then, let me see if anybody else jumped in the building. Stan, I don't think I've seen you in a minute, man. But all right, shout out to everybody in the building. Once again, like always, keep your budget and your finance, good. Until next time, we here and we gone.